in Gigiri police station. Obado becomes the sixth suspect to be questioned and detained by detectives in connection with the brutal killing of Rongo University student who was expectant when she met her death. Police have already marked his wife, Helen, as a person of interest in the case.
Migori Governor Okoth Obado becomes the sixth suspect to be questioned and detained by detectives, even as police termed his wife Helen as a person of interest in this matter. Last week, Obado came out to distance himself from the murder of the 26-year-old Rongo University student, who at the time of her death was 7 months pregnant. He was locked up at Gigiri police station on Friday after detectives interrogated him for the second time over Sharon's murder. And in Migori, his supporters displayed their solidarity with him in a demonstration from his Rapogi village to Riri.
Let governor have his own peace. Like, for example, even if he's detained, but the constitution is very clear that we recently promulgated that one should not stay over or more than 24 hours in a cell. And why is he being arrested on Fridays?
All right, and I know gentlemen had given you a chance to comment on that, but Honorable Singh had not given you an opportunity to do that. So briefly, maybe you could mention on what we talked about earlier.
You see, Mike, this is a police case, and it's very unfortunate in my view, and poorly to the family of the innocent girl, because I believe that that girl was very innocent, you know, and she found herself in a mix of a very complicated case, you know. There might be some blackmailing there. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things
that's going on there, and that's why I'm saying, in fact, even in our debates and so on, I think we have convoluted everything, and everything is confused. So for me, I wish the police the best in terms of finding justice for that innocent girl. That is primary, and in all those things, they should remember this innocent girl, because even if the girl was a friend to Obado, why would she be killed? How many girls are friends or anybody? Friendship is not illegal or it's not a crime. But why would somebody then take her life? Just because it's a friend. So I think that should be done. Number two, and also this interesting thing of arresting people on Fridays and so on, you know, it's becoming very interesting. I think there's a message being said there that, maybe the police or DCI is saying, I'm the one in charge, I want to punish people over the weekend, because I know they're going to be given anyway bone, so let them sleep a bit, and then when they go, they will say that I'm working. And that's why we're discussing of the camera and saying there are a lot of things behind the scenes, Mike, that is going on. And we want to ask our people, and particularly DCI, to do a proper work, proper investigation, so that when the cases are taken to court, they will stand the test of time and law. Not this hurry or fishing expedition, so that at least, and because I'm seeing where we're going as a leader, what happens is that when some of these people are acquitted, I'm not necessarily saying about Obado, but the other people who have been accused, when they're acquitted later, there will be a blame game between DCI and courts. The courts. So I think DCI has a big job. He's tried. We will say as people of Kenya, he's tried, but he needs to do a proper work and leave this idea of arresting people over the weekend to say something. I think that will be wrong.
Okay. All right. And, well, that's a debate, of course, and it's a developing story. And right here on KTN News, we certainly will be keeping you posted. It is expected the governor is going to be arraigned in court today to take a plea, and that is a story that we're certainly going to follow. But let's change focus away from that. And we know what happened last week in regards to the proposed tax by the president, and that is a matter of debate in the country. And how are we going to recover or move on from that? But first of all, before we get into that debate, I'd like us to listen to some of the leaders and what they had to say.
And to ask is not a sin, is not unlawful. And the only thing that I can tell Uhuru Kenyatta, you are very lucky that your Raila Amolo Odinga, you shook hands. Otherwise,
we need to know the direction that Kenya is taking. At this rate, at the level of debt that we have, it is an alarming and it is very unacceptable.
Miles away.
And to ask is not a sin, is not unlawful.
All right, we apologize for that. And, well, I think we get the gravitas of what is being said. Whether you are one of those who are totally against the introduction of the 8%, value-added tax to petroleum products. But you saw what happened.
Yes.
And here we are today. What's the way forward?
I think it was passed against background that people will suffer, they are going to suffer. The common man, not Mheshimiwa here, not Agwanda here. The ordinary Wanjiku, Atieno, you go to Chaweri, you go to West Pokot down there, they are going to feel it in their food, they are going to feel it in their transport, they are feeling it all over. It has passed. And you could see even parliamentarians themselves, they were ashamed. That's why they just couldn't come out and vote for it or against it. They were gerrymandering. Even the president also saw that 16% was too much, and then it went to 8%. Now that we are where we are, which is very unfortunate, on the 8%, not the other taxes. If I was in power, we would have spread the 8% on other areas like airtime, like Facebook, all this. But now where we are, we really expect prudence. Prudence so that we don't suffer more. We don't continue to suffer. That requires that wastage on corruption, wastage on unnecessary trips, several unnecessary posts that were created, we get out of it so that there is saving, we pay debts, and then we also have a freeze on borrowing. I think we have overborrowed. So that the country can stabilize as we bear the pain of the 8%.
Honorable Kosing, were you present in the chambers when this was happening?
Yes, I was present.
And what was your vote?
I was present and I voted the opinion of the president of Kenya.
So you voted for
yes,
the
I voted.
introduction?
Yes, I voted.
Why?
And you know what I did, Mike, and for the people of Kenya? What the president did was to reduce the tax on petroleum products.
No, he did not reduce it.
He did.
Increased it by 8%.
No. He
did it
to
8%.
I will tell you. He did it. Take it from me.
How did he reduce it?
That's what I'm saying. Give me the time. Okay. Because then I'm here for you.
Let me hear you.
What the president did actually was to reduce from 16% to 8%. No, you know what happened? Wait 1 minute, Mike. I was there, so you give me opportunity.
No, the reason why I'm coming in is because we had zero tax at that point. Then it was put at the proposal was 16%, then brought down to 8%. So it was not a reduction from 16 to 8. It was an increase from 0 to 8.
It was not 0. It was 16, and I'll tell you why I'm saying that. In 2013, legally it was 16. 2013. We passed a law to make it 16%, right? But then, members said, 2013, that is, okay, they said, no, let's postpone it for 2 years. But it was in law, 16%. So what was happening? It was a postponement for another, until 2016. 2016 came, of course, politics coming, and campaigns and so on. Oh, let's postpone it again for another 2 years. So it was coming. Even last time, we voted not to scrap it, but to postpone. So it was 16%, that's what I'm saying. Okay. But the president himself took a bold move. And that is why, you must stand where you think and you believe. That is why I'm saying that I was there and I voted with the president election, to reduce what MPs did in the finance bill that was done by the president. What we did was, we actually voted for 16%. But we postponed again for 2 years. So what was happening? It was going to catch up with us in 2 years. So the president said, so that we leave this game of up and down, let's make it 8 and finish. Not wait for 2 years. Make it 8, finish. So it is now finished. What was happening in Parliament was politics, my good brother. We voted for 16, but postponed it for another.
So do you agree with those who say that for those who are pushing for a no and saying that it should have been no, are pretending?
No, you see, that's politics. That was politics. That was politics because they knew they voted for 16, but postponed for 2 years.
All right.
Why would you postpone a problem? We better sort out the problem. What the president did for us, he helped us and told us, look guys, rather than you people postponing this problem, let's make it. And I'm reducing it now to 8%. So somebody who took a bold move is Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right.
Otherwise, the rest were just playing politics, but postponing for 2 years. And it was going to catch up with Kenyans in 2 years.
Okay. Michael Agwanda, and a reduction, do you agree with that narrative?
You know that you're not going to beat Mheshimiwa in his own game.
When it comes to politics.
Yeah, no, but I'm honest. I'm honest.
He voted for the president and he was whipped to do so, not against, not in his own volition. But the reality is Mheshimiwa is talking about this stuff here, is that 2013 they voted for 16% VAT, yet it was not implemented. So regardless, I agree with you, Mike, we were not paying 16%. That's a reality. That's check. Number one. Number two, it was also brought because there was an expectation of Kenya drilling the oil and having oil on our street. In other words, we could cash on this. Perhaps even after getting our own oil, the price of oil will come staggeringly down, and so as a result, we can charge 16% VAT, and in that way, we gain as a country. Check, that is a fact. But now, when you look at the members of MP, or members of parliament, for that reason, and it was part of it, that actually voted to postpone this 16% VAT in another 2 years. Let me tell you, the reality is it was taken to the president on this amendment so that they could postpone this for 2 years. But in reality, they knew for a fact that the president did not have the money to run the budget. And for that reason, this had to be brought back into the House. For the first time, I think, the members of parliament just wanted to flex their muscle a little bit so that the executive get to know that they are there, in my view. But this ping-pong game was all planned. And remember, when the president came back, and I will totally disagree with Mheshimiwa here, saying, oh, you know, it was fair enough to do 8%. It is not 8%. When you talk about the 8% on VAT on fuel, we are also talking about 3 other areas or 4 other areas where tax has been increased. On cell phone, tax has been increased. On a deposit in the bank and even getting money from the bank. This has actually been doubled. Now, this is how transaction in this country is being done. In other words, it is not the 8% we're looking at only on fuel, but it is in everything that we do in this country. In other words, tax has been increased. Maybe 3 times than what we are seeing here, actually. If you look at telephone communication, it is twice. I mean, banking charges is twice. And what about telephone? It's almost a half of it. And so you're seeing all this increment and you're wondering, are we talking about reduction of tax in totality or just fuel? But what I have to say, for the first time, I think, I want to say that the members of parliament have made me proud for the first time. Whether they were playing ping-pong game or not, but at least they stood, and 215 of them stood in that house and wanted this to be returned to the president. However, the number was not reached because of, again, the government machineries. And a friend of mine told me, you know, in this country, if you're not with the government, nothing will ever happen. And indeed, nothing happened in that parliament, even though they came out. But that sends a signal to the president that the members of parliament are not sitting pretty with him, and it sends a signal to the opposition leader, Honorable Raila Odinga, that the members of parliament are also not sitting pretty with him, and it sent a huge signal to Honorable William Ruto, the DP of this country. And let me tell you, these guys might also disappoint you if you're banking, you're putting your money in the bank on their behalf, because they're saying, enough is enough, and I think we can do what we were elected to do in Parliament.
Okay, let me come back to you, Honorable Kosing, and what you expect Kenyans to do. We started off and you mentioned that you're acting as per Jubilee manifesto. One of the things that Jubilee promised Kenya is that we're going to have a lower standard of living. That has not happened right from the time Jubilee got into government, and it's getting worse. We need to tighten our belts even more.
Yeah.
So what's your message to Kenyans?
My message to Kenyans, Mike, is we were elected as leaders to be responsible, you know, and we're not doing politics. And as I said earlier, we are in government. Uhuru Kenyatta is in government, he's leading government. He's not an analyst. He takes responsibility. And sometimes at this time, when hard decisions are required to be made, that is when leaders are tested. That is number 1 message I want to tell Kenyans. Number 2, I think where we should now go after 8%, because now it is there, where we should go, and from where I sit as chairman of transport, is the transporters. Transporters and other people might want to load Kenyans unnecessarily on this 8%. And I want to tell them as they listen to me now, because we are going to do a number of things after this, and we have asked NTSA to do a math, because Kenyans are being exploited. So what we have done is that we have asked NTSA, look at it and you know, within the calculation, what would be the actual increase from this 8% that was done as a tax. And we have found that it's coming to about like 4%, you know, in terms of transport. Wherever you are, whether you're in West Pokot, you're in Kisumu, you're in Nairobi, it should not be more than 8%. So what we have told is that now the NTSA should do a national survey and look and say what's happening. To now, Mike, I'll tell you and I'll give you a report from the report which we have gotten, is that some of the transporters have not effected any change, which is very good for them. Some of them have gone between 40 and 50%, most of them. And we are doing that analysis this week. Maybe in the next 1 week, you will hear a lot of things that will change this country. Because what is happening is that transporters and businessmen outside there want to blackmail government using the people of Kenya by increasing prices. In fact, my argument in Parliament that particular day was that our problem is not even 8%. Our problem is if this 16% come to 8%, what will transporters do? They will not even reduce the prices. And that is where the big animal is. In fact, even the living standards of people, which we promised, as you said earlier, Mike, it's not even ourselves. It is the transporters that are going to behave badly to the people of Kenya. And that is why we might end up doing NTSA as we did Energy Regulatory Commission, which is to regulate on prices of fuel. And that is why when the commission says that this is a price of fuel, it is all over the country. The problem in the transport sector is that we don't have that yet. This might be a lesson, Mike. For us, we will look at what happens this week. After next week, we might come up with a law to empower NTSA to give
Although
you...
that would just be dealing with one segment, that's just transport. We still have many other areas that may not be, dealt with. But also, more importantly, Honorable Kosing, is the question of the economy. Because for Kenya to enjoy, this kind, the growth that had been prospected and promised by Jubilee, there has to be a robust economy. But I'll come back to you. Let me come to you, Ambrose Weda. Do you see that being realized, given that now we're going to be spending less? For an economy to be robust, for it to move, we need to spend more. People need to have money in their pocket to spend. There seems to be less by two reasons. One, the cost of living, of course, has gone high. Two, we have less getting into our pocket by virtue of the taxes.
I think when I hear Mheshimiwa talking, then you realize now they want to bring in the good life through law. Good life is not brought through law. Good life is brought through the promised double-digit economic growth. Not this law, not that law. You will find that now for a transporter to remove maize from Kitale to Mandera, he will have to load the price, the 8% on that maize. And therefore, the fellow who does not grow maize and eats ugali and related products will pay more or eat less. Then the other one, you load the cost of housing again, and it will be negative. So what needs to be done is for the president to go back to the basics of economics. Basics here require that you make the fundamentals available. Food. If we are still struggling with imported rice from Pakistan, imported sugar from wherever, imported beans, imported eggs from Uganda, imported all these things, then once we miss it on the basics, we have already missed. It's like Mheshimiwa here cannot feed his family. The children don't have food, but he's promising them V8. He's promising them a helicopter. They'll be saying, Mheshimiwa, let us eat first. Then when the day the helicopter comes, we will enjoy. So the president needs to go back to basics. The basics mean food security, goes back to security itself, and then investment. The country needs... Now we are not manufacturing anything. We are not selling anything. Even the tea, one of the best teas in the world, is not going outside. So I think the voodoo economics of taxation and law, we should come down to ensuring that we get the basics right, we reduce the imports, and then we go into manufacturing and building, and then we become bigger.
All right. Michael Agwanda, we also have some members of parliament who threatened to impeach the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi. Do you see that happening, or is that just another game maybe playing with Kenyans' intelligence?
To that, the Speaker retorted and said, bring it on, bring it on.
He dared them.
He dared them. I really think that if the members of parliament think that the Speaker is not serving them right, they need to do exactly that, because they represent the people that sent them to parliament, and they think that some bills are being passed that are not supposed to be passed, then they need to do it. For example, look at what happened in parliament last week. You realize that the voting mechanism in Parliament will be fiddled with to show figures that are not actual. In a day like that, I mean, you can't forgive such an individual, really, and the public needs to know that how did these numbers come to 350-something that was being shown on the screen, and how will it be possible that the leader of majority and the leader of minority will decide, you know, as is being alleged, that they took even the voting cards for some members of Parliament. I mean, if such a things have been reported from Parliament, then how do we trust that anything that is passed in Parliament is by the authority of parliamentarians other than the executive, in my view? And so we are in a place where basically if those are not taken very seriously, then we are not going to take the seriousness of Parliament, you know, when it is brought out, and the laws are brought out here, whether it was debated reasonably and time given for these people to vote. In my view, if they think that the Speaker is not serving them right, so be it, and they need to get him out of there. But if it was just a mere individual, you know, infringement or a whim or an individual issues with the Speaker, then that will not pass the order of the day. But you know, as we've seen, the Parliament doesn't seem to have any powers because they seem to be doing everything that executive wants them to do, and that is what we've seen in the last 6 years. And so an independent Parliament, we probably need to see whether that will happen in the next 4 years. But the 6 years that President Uhuru has been there, we've not had a parliament that think and votes on the basis of the interests of the people, but instead of the interests of the executive.
And you're seated to a member of parliament right there, and I would like to hear his comments to that. Honorable Kosing, you're being accused of being puppets of the president.
Not correct. Of course, far from the truth. And that's why I'm saying, Mike.
But looking at what happened on Thursday, then one would be left to imagine that there could be some truth in that.
No.
Because the nays seem to have it from, you know, what we had.
No, you see the nays in Parliament last time, the nays should have been more than 234, which it was not there. So whether you say nay by standing or by jumping is relevant. It's not about that. It's about how many are you. Even if, for example, we were even more than 234 in Parliament, you know, that particular time sitting, it must be present and voting. So even if you are more than 234 sitting in the House, you must vote 234 in the nays. So even if you make noise, it doesn't change. It doesn't change the numbers. Number two, why would people then want to say, okay, well, fine, we want to impeach Muturi? That is intimidation. So, you know, and we are a democracy. We are politicians. If you are defeated in your thinking, you should not go forward and intimidate other people saying, I want to do this, I want to do this for you. You are defeated. And let me tell you also, Mike, that was a very difficult thing to beat. It is difficult to get 2/3 majority. We tried in last parliament. I'm fortunate I was in last parliament, I am now in this parliament. The time we came nearer to 2/3 was changing of the date of election in last parliament. But we are defeated. And now even that the same thing now is coming to take the date to December. This was another one. Presidential, it was so difficult to reach 2/3. So it was known. And it's a strategy also, Mike. Let me say this. It was a strategy for the people who are for the bill. That if, for example, we are threatened, you can also withdraw. It is allowed in Parliament. It is one of the strategies to be able to make your agenda win. It is in the standing orders. It is in Parliament. So there was nothing wrong for anybody then to threaten Honorable Muturi. Honorable Muturi is one of the best speakers we have ever had in this country. He's taken us through a very difficult time. He's the first speaker in the new constitution. He has taken us properly well. It's not that we are defeated one day. Maybe tomorrow you will win.
Okay.
So what is the problem?
Gentlemen, we are running out of time. Let me get your closing comments, starting with you, Ambrose Weda, on the way forward.
Yeah, I think all I can say is that the president needs to get back to basics. Parliament also needs to guide the president. It's not that when he says we follow this, it has to be followed. Those who love the president will say, Your Excellency, this part is not right, let's follow this. Those who are just cheering until the president enters the ditch, those are the enemies of the president. And they should better know that when the country, now we go down, we will cry unto yourselves.
They'll be judged harshly by history. Let me come to you, Michael Agwanda, with your closing comments.
The development of a country, and more specifically on economy, is not based on high taxation, but it's based on creating jobs, so that those many people who are working and being paid will be able to pay taxes. Kenya has not gotten there. It's based on industrialization, which Germany thrived on for many, many years before they did anything else. When you have industries, you make sure that you put your people to work. And Kenyans are not there. The industries are not going to come into this country simply because when you look at the cost of land in this country, it's prohibitive. When you look at the taxes we're talking about, when you look at the power, the cost of power is prohibitive. That is why some companies are literally moving out of Kenya and pitching tent in our neighborhood. And the question is, if we're talking about industry, as one of the 4 pillars of the president, how are you going to achieve this when the cost of fuel is now going up, yet that contribute directly to actually manufacturing? When you also look at the things that this country will have to export, because again, a country's liquidity is also informed by how much export and import you're having in a country. We are having some of our commodities that we've been selling out there, cash crops, that have gone under. Sugar, of course, is being destroyed by the very corruption of this country. And you have tea that is also being destroyed now. Coffee, we are even having issues with coffee. And so the question is, the basic question is, if we are known to be an agricultural country, why can't we invest in that? And why did the president think that that was not a huge chunk of it? Of course, he's saying food security, but food security on what? Well, while you are having fertilizers being imported in this country that are fake, that are destroying our land, and instead of buying from farmers, and in Washingishu, you're seeing what was happening, instead of buying, the government buying maize from farmers, they are buying it from people who get them across, and people get them very cheaply. And so the farmers are stuck with all this maize, and they're wondering what's going to happen in the next planting season. And so what is our priority? Big capital investment or small capital investment on people who can drive this economy? I think we need to have a change of mind.
Honorable Kosing, you have the last word.
I have 2 words, Mike. First of all, to thank you, and also KTN, for giving us this opportunity to share our thinking with Kenyans. Number 1, I'll say Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta is the one responsible for the country. And then let's look at responsibility. It is not easy to become a leader. It's just like a father. The people who are talking the other side of the coin are irresponsible. It's just like somebody who gets a child and refuses to feed that child. That is responsibility. Uhuru Kenyatta is in charge of the country, and he steers the country in a responsible manner, right? Whether he's doing right or wrong, it will be seen in 2022 when we go for evaluation as Jubilee, and you will see we will win in 2022. We have no problem about that.
All right.
Because the policy we are giving now, we are putting now, will be seen. It might not be seen today. It is a heyday for analysts. Let them continue. And when now the truth comes that things are going to be good, it will be very good. Finally, I want to appeal to transporters. You know, being chair of transport and public works and housing in this country, in National Assembly, I want to appeal to them, Mike. Let them not take undue advantage on the people of Kenya. Let them not blackmail the people of Kenya so that wananchi want to force the government to do wrong things. I want to appeal to them. We are partners in this as a country. They are also leaders. Don't increase prices unreasonably. Because we are on our way there. Let us not make Kenyans suffer more. Let us be responsible as well as we move forward.
So please, take advantage.
We shouldn't take undue advantage.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll have to wind it up right there. David Kosing, Member of Parliament, Pokot South. We also have Michael Agwanda, who is a governance consultant, and last but not least, Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. Thank you, gentlemen. That's the way it is. It's now 27 minutes to 8 o'clock. We're going to take a short break. Do stay with us right here on Morning Express. We have more coming up.